Greetings, boys and girls. Paul here again, back with his boomerangs, and this fella here is one of my favourite pieces, and his name is James Brown. So towards the end of the last video, we were talking about how 95% of the world's media, global media companies, is basically owned by 6 corporations. Now, before we go on, we've known for a long time, it's been out there for decades and decades, that basically 1% of the population on the planet of the Earth own 90% of everything: money, assets, and corporations. So to suggest that 6 companies own 95% of the media is actually pretty believable now when you get back to the 1% owning 90% of everything. All right. However, because they own so much, they can then influence the narrative. And so if you were to look on the news at the moment, pretty much you go channel to channel to channel to channel to channel, and they're all basically saying the same thing. And that gives the illusion that because everyone's saying the same thing, therefore it must be true. That is not true. There is an old saying that if you tell a lie often enough and loud enough, it is a matter of time before it's accepted as the truth. And that's what's really going on here. So I would like to expand on the role of the television and how it influences and affects you. Because most of us these days have digital television, and with the digital television, there's some influences that you may or may not know about. I don't know. I'm sure we've all heard of blue screen technology, for example. There's even now, these days, you can buy glasses, not these ones, but you can buy glasses that are actually geared towards blocking the blue screen frequency. And the blue screen frequency interacts with your melanin, which affects your sleep patterns, for example. Okay, but there's also a dopamine addiction going on. And dopamine is the feel-good chemical. It does a lot in your body. It's not just, doesn't just make you feel good. It actually has a lot of other influences that I'm not going to go into. However, I want you, for the moment, just to keep in mind that dopamine is basically the feel-good reward you get for doing something that you value. Now, the interaction with the screen is creating dopamine addictions. So we have a need to go back and sit in front of a screen, which then boosts our dopamine. We get the feel-goods. So we get this urge to do regular sits in front of the television, however you want to say it. And then when we sit in front of it, there is something called the flicker rate. Now, the flicker rate is basically the amount of times the screen refreshes the picture per second in cycles. And it actually does it in bottom and top half. So it's literally flicking like that. Okay. When that happens, it actually puts you in a meditative state. It literally hypnotizes you into a trance-like state. Okay. Now, if you don't want to believe that, that's fine. But I would ask you, have you ever used the television to babysit your children? I have. Absolutely guilty. Okay, and why do you do that? Why do you put them in front of the television? Because it calms them down, shuts them up. That is the hypnotic effect happening right there in front of your eyes. Now, I can remember when I was a child, so there's nothing new about this hypnotic effect. I can remember when I was a kid, and I mean probably late primary school, maybe early high school sort of thing. My sister and I were literally laying on the floor, sort of like that, just watching the television, and Dad walked into the room and says, "Geez, look at this, it's like they're bloody hypnotised." how right he was. He absolutely nailed it. Okay, so no one's exempt. We've all been hypnotised by the television to some degree, and I'm sure there's even times where you've realised you've kind of zoned out there, and it's actually the effect the television has on your mind, and it actually creates the alpha brainwave state, low alpha brainwave state, which is associated with meditation and deep relaxation, but it's also in a learning mode. So babies are basically born with the alpha brainwaves, and from the first few years of your life, I'm sure you've all heard this, babies learn more in the first few years of their life than they do basically for the rest of their life. And that's because the alpha brainwave state allows for accelerated or high volume learning. So you're sitting in front of the television, you've gone into a hypnotic state, right? You follow me? And you have a relationship with the person that, for example, that reads the news, because you quite literally invite him into your lounge room, or her into your lounge room every day, if you watch the news every day. Let's assume you do. So around the same time every evening, you invite this person in to have a chat with you about what's been happening in the world. So you already have an element of trust. You tend to go to a news source that you like the news reader. Makes sense, doesn't it? So there's an element of trust. You're now gone into a hypnotic state, accelerated learning, and you are now being fed information. So I would ask you one question right now. Do you ever fact check the news? Or do you just go, well, it was the news. You said that. And we're all guilty of that too. I'm not going to sit there and say that I've never done that. Absolutely, I've done that. I've since learned a few things though, okay? So the television is now putting you into a hypnotic state, feeding you information that then becomes a memory. Even if it's just the memory of sitting there watching the information on the television, it's still a memory. Memories then become a belief. And we pin our beliefs on, our memories become our beliefs, and we pin these as fact. Now, back to the fact that all these channels are now preaching the same hymn. You can now see how the illusion can be presented that it is fact because everyone's saying it. And then you're being put into a state that allows you to accept all that information much more freely and much more willingly. Now, you don't have to believe this, but what I hope you do is go look up, for example, flicker rate for television and its effects. Blue screen technology, or blue screen frequency and its effects. Don't just believe me, because to just reject it out of hand, that's actually denial, okay? So you can be in denial if you like. So denial isn't saying, no, I don't want to believe. Denial is when you don't make any effort whatsoever to find out any information at all, be it positive or negative, on the information you've given. And you reject everything else outright without checking. That is denial, okay? So if you want to stay in denial, that's your business. You go right ahead. Doesn't affect me one way or the other. However, I would suggest it's in your own interest to actually go double check some of these things I'm saying. Open the door to a little bit of information. It's been put to me that a sign of intelligent human beings is to be able to go, yeah, they've got this information, I've got this information, and they are opposed to each other. But an intelligent human being can actually hold both of them as possibilities until more information flows, and then you make a decision. But you don't have to do it straight away. You can hold them both. Okay, and that's what I'm inviting you to do. Hold them both together. Go source some more information. Then make your decision as to which one you go, or doesn't matter. It's up to you. Okay. And the other common one at the moment is basically everyone goes, oh, well, that shit sounds like conspiracy theory. Well, do you know where conspiracy theory came from, for example? It actually started after John F. Kennedy was shot, and they had this single bullet theory where one man shot one bullet and it went through a couple of people, and in one spot, out the other, and did a right angle turn and did all this garbage that people, the general public in America at the time, that were listening to what was the Warren Report, like a Royal Commission kind of thing, into the shooting of JFK, even they were going, this is a load of crap. So the CIA invented the term, this NLP term, to basically shut people up, and they came up with conspiracy theory. And it's been used exactly the same right now. It keeps people in denial. So if I put something out there, like let's say there's evidence that wearing masks can have detrimental effects for if you wear them for extended periods, I get asked, where's your scientific proof? How do you verify that? Well, I think we should be asking exactly the same thing when somebody says conspiracy theory. And I've done this to two of my friends, and they're great people, don't get me wrong. But on two occasions, really good friends of mine have gone, dude, it's conspiracy theory. Look, it says it right here on the phone. Conspiracy. And I just looked at them, different people on different occasions. I looked at them and said, so tell me, how do they determine what is and is not a conspiracy theory? I don't know. So then I asked, well, what's the procedures? What's the standards that are applied to find out what is and is not a conspiracy theory? And what company or what government agency, so to speak, is responsible for determining what is and is not a conspiracy? So can you now see how this links back to the whole way the television is being used? Because most of the media is the one saying this has been debunked as a conspiracy theory, but offer absolutely no evidence. And then you go, conspiracy theory. There you go. Hear that? Conspiracy theory. What else do you need to know? Well, I'd probably suggest there might be a little bit more that you should look at least. And again, be brave enough to hold two opposing viewpoints. Go get the more information, then decide. Have the courage to do that. It's in your own interest, okay? Now, let me say, if I'm wrong about all this, all the stuff that I've been telling you, if I'm wrong, big deal. We go back to normal, which is what people want, really. And I keep saying, we ain't going back to normal. We ain't. But if I'm wrong, we go back to normal. You can all get your pitchforks, drag me down to the market square, put me in the stocks, grab your favourite piece of rotten fruit and have at it for a bit. A lot of fun. I'm sure you'll all look forward to that. However, if you're wrong, then where are you? Might want to consider that and then go do a little bit more investigating than just listening to a television using a program. It's a bit of a giveaway when you say it like that, isn't it? But are you going to just put all your faith in one single avenue of information, which is a third party that is editing and adjusting to present the story that they wish to present of somebody else saying something? So person A says something, it's then relayed through a group of B, which we'll call B, so that you receive what person B tells you, not even person A, because it's edited. Remember that. Anyway, that's enough for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the conspiracy theory. Well, not tomorrow, the next video. We'll talk a little bit more about conspiracy theory, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, have a most excellent boomerang day. Remember, it's boomerang day. What you put out there will come back at you. So treat each other kindly. And you have a good one. Ciao for now. And remember, the game stops when you stop playing.